What's happening, fellas? More foolishness and debauchery going on. So I'm sitting around, I'm strolling through the news, and I see that Joe Rogan says that he has tested positive for COVID. And then he basically takes a 3-day run of questionable treatments, if you can call them that, in order to mitigate the symptoms. One of which being, yes, Ivermectin. Simmer down, girl. Simmer down. We'll get him for taking your medicine. We'll get him. We will get him. It's okay. So I'm gonna, cover this Rolling Stone article that says how Joe Rogan became a cheerleader for Ivermectin. The most popular podcast host who loves to just ask questions can't stop talking about his favorite anti-parasitic drug. This article was written by E.J. Dickinson. So then 3 days later, on September the 3rd, Joe Rogan says that he tested negative days after virus reveal. Okay. I tell you, man, I can't believe that I have to keep going over this, but I do. So, here's what Joe says. All right, one would think that our culture has evolved to a point beyond turning to the guy who starred as an electrician in news radio for medical advice. It is medieval advice. One would, however, be incorrect. For the past 18 months, Joe Rogan, the host of a wildly successful podcast that Spotify acquired in a much ballyhooed deal, has become platforming misinformation about COVID-19 to his nearly 11 million listeners per episode, downplaying the effects of the virus, inviting guests on to promote unproven treatments, and dismissing the importance of the vaccine. Yesterday, however, and let's see, this was on the 2nd, okay? So it says, yesterday, however, he announced in an Instagram video that he himself had contracted COVID-19. We immediately threw the kitchen sink at it. All kinds of meds, he said in the video when discussing his treatments. As a result, he says in the video, "Here we are on Wednesday, and I feel great." Among the treatments that Joe Rogan promoted on his Instagram video were monoclonal antibodies, which Trump received when he contracted COVID-19, as well as the corticosteroid prednisone. Okay, prednisone is fine. Prednisone will treat the effects of the inflammation response that he would feel, which would, keep him from feeling, bad as a result of what was going on. So that's a common treatment. So that's okay. He says, "I feel good. I feel pretty fucking good," he says in the video. But most media reports of Rogan's COVID-19 diagnosis focused on the fact that he had said he had also taken Ivermectin, an anti-parasitic drug. Ivermectin is perhaps best known as a deworming worming medication for horses or dogs. though it is indeed prescribed to humans in tablet form to treat parasitic infections or in a topical form to treat conditions like rosacea, also lice. Says the Rolling Stone has previously reported in recent months, ivermectin has been promoted heavily by right-wing media personalities like Laura Ingraham as a potential treatment for COVID-19, despite the fact that there is little consistent evidence to support its use in this regard. As a result, people having been buying the drug in bulk, raving about its efficacy in private Facebook groups, and griping about its side effects after taking too high a dose, which included uncontrollable defecation. Excuse me. The FDA has warned against taking ivermectin as a treatment for COVID, saying the overdose could lead to side effects such as dizziness, seizures, and increased vomiting. And some states have reported that people taking overdoses of ivermectin has led to an increase in poison control calls. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is because they're stealing it from places where they're giving it to horses, and they are taking doses that are 2 to 3 times higher than what's recommended for treating parasitic infections in humans. So they are in effect poisoning themselves. Arguably, no one has been more successful at promoting ivermectin than Rogan himself. In an April 23rd episode of his podcast, the earliest example that could be found by Rolling Stone, he accused Twitter of preventing him from sending a private direct message containing a link to a video about the drug, echoing a common narrative on the right that the media is censoring discussion of any vaccine alternatives. This doctor was saying ivermectin is 99% effective in treating COVID, but you don't hear about it because you can't fund vaccines when it's an effective treatment. He says on his podcast, I don't know if this guy is right or wrong. I'm just asking questions. So see, this is how he backs out of everything by saying, I'm asking questions, hey, I'm just sitting out here. I'm asking questions that we should be able to ask. So what he's effectively doing is he's throwing out there doubt, doubt in the treatments that have been put forth by the medical community. So then you have to ask yourself, basically, who are you to ask, why we shouldn't be taking something that the doctors didn't tell us to take in the first place? It's kind of crazy. But see, he gets off on his show by saying these dumbass things like, I'm just asking questions, Don't hold it against me, Don't hate me for asking questions. I should be able to ask questions, If this was a college class, you're in a class and a guy's asking dumbass questions, you know what would happen? Everybody would get pissed off because you're keeping us here beyond the time that we need to be here by murkying up the information that we should have with bullshit that we shouldn't have, okay? So that's when everybody gets pissed off at you and, basically you're ostracized by your peers. But anyway, let's move on here. So when asked about these comments, Angelo Carusone, the head of Media Watch group Media Matters, saw it as another example of his seeding distrust in the vaccine. It's sort of an offhanded way of hitting the vaccines and the broader narrative about vaccines, he says. 2 months later, on June 22nd, Rogan hosted Dr. Brett Weinstein and Dr. Pierre Corey, both public champions of ivermectin, as COVID-19 treatment. Corey is the president of the Frontline COVID Critical Care Alliance, an organization that pushes for the use of ivermectin in COVID treatment. After YouTube demonetized his channel for publicly promoting ivermectin, Weinstein moved to the fringe platform Odyssey. In the episode, Weinstein and Corey pushed the claim that the media and the government are censoring information about ivermectin in order for big pharma to profit from COVID-19 vaccines. You have a drug that's good enough to end the pandemic at any point you want it, Weinstein said. Who decides to prioritize business interests ahead of that? I find it hard to imagine. Clips from the episode have widely circulated on YouTube and TikTok, with one video on the latter platform garnering 2.6 million views before it was removed for violating TikTok guidelines against medical misinformation. Joe Rogan really did us dirty, Abby Richardson, a misinformation and disinformation researcher who focuses on TikTok, previously told Rolling Stone about ivermectin misinformation on the platform. Rogan's promotion of ivermectin is part of and parcel with him using his platform to spread COVID-19 misinformation by featuring guests such as conspiracy theorist Alex Jones. Don't get me started on Alex. Okay. I'm going to cover Alex after this. But anyway, let's go. Okay. Alex, as well as publicly dismissing the importance of getting a vaccine back in April. If you're like 21 years old and you say to me, should I get vaccinated? I'll go, no, he said in the episode. He later attempted to clarify his comments, calling himself not an anti-vax person and a fucking moron. Okay. First of all, why would you tell somebody not to get vaccinated? You're not a medical professional. What you should be telling them is, hey, go talk to your doctor. But no, what you're doing is you're giving medical information. And where I come from, that's called practicing without a license. Punishable by fines and prison time. So, these people are getting off and causing people to put themselves in harm's way over dumb advice. And I cannot emphasize that enough. So let's move along here. As Curacone sees it, the fact that he uses his guests to espouse these views while oftentimes refraining from promoting them himself lends him sufficient cover to avoid being branded as a purveyor of misinformation, says Curacone. Promoting ivermectin as a treatment for his own case of COVID-19 helps to reinforce the narrative that it's an effective medication in the treatment of the virus, in treating the virus, and that there is no harm in people trying it. His audience is huge and they're engaged, he says, and they're already so hopped up on alpha brain that this is the kind of stuff they love. In response to Rogan promoting the promotion of ivermectin, some on social media have called for Spotify, which acquired the show exclusively in 2020 in a reported $100 million deal, to boot him from the network, thus limiting his reach. There's some evidence that Rogan's influence has actually diminished since the Spotify deal. A Verge investigation from last month, for instance, indicated that his audience may have waned after he made the move, but he's still one of the most popular podcasters in the world who has used his platform to undermine public health. The fear is that Rogan contracting COVID is going to give him the direct personal experience to talk about how he had COVID, it wasn't that bad, and they treated him with all the options that are available. He says for him, it's going to end up being a validation piece. Okay. Joe Rogan. My spin on it is, and this is what I will tell you guys, and I try to get you guys to the best information out there so that you can make an informed decision. But what Joe Rogan just said to his millions of fans and followers is definitely.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
I'm just saying, guys, would you go to a pizza man to basically tell you who should work on your heart if you're having, symptoms of a heart attack? I mean, would you go to a bum to ask them how to build rockets? It's not that hard. This is not that difficult. So I just don't understand why we keep having to tell people that this is not a good idea. It's not a good idea. And, these horses have got to be pissed off because, you guys are taking their medicine. The horses need their medicine, and you guys need to slack off. You need to listen to the medical professionals and, fucking do what's right. Do what's right. You guys stay with reputable sources and good, wholesome, realistic information. I will be hard at work at trying to counter the misinformation campaigns that are out here trying to basically get people to make dumbass decisions. This has been Abuki Kabal, your friend, trying to keep you from making dumbass decisions. Thank you guys for listening. Let me tell you, I appreciate all of the support. You guys are great. And I am humbled and honored. Shout out to BGS, who has been instrumental in trying to get some of this information out there too, as well as, some of the other guys out here. I link all these guys up here. You guys support the other channels. When you go on there and you get this good information, you guys support, donate so that we can, make sure that our channels are quality, improve them as much as we can, but this stuff costs money. And appreciate you guys. And, I just don't know what to say. But I guess I'm going to end it here.
You are listening to Abuki Kabal, the analytical savage.